said, even though you did not know the language being spoken. You know, the goal of interpretation of tongues was for edification of the church. And that is why in Corinth, in 1 Corinthians 14, verse 5 and verse 12, the church at Corinth, they were speaking in tongues, but there was no interpreter. And so Paul commanded them that if somebody must speak in tongue in a gathering, that there must be somebody that we interpret it. And so finally we looked at it and we saw that there were 9 gifts of the Spirit. And that out of these 9, they were grouped into 3. They were grouped into the revelational gifts, they were grouped into the power gifts, and they were grouped into the speaking gifts. That is, with the revelational gifts, we have the word of wisdom, we have the word of knowledge, and we have the discernment of spirit. They are the revelational gifts. Then there is the power gifts. We have under that the gift of faith, the gifts of healings, and the working of miracles. And we have the speaking gifts, which is prophecy, kinds of tongues, and interpretation of tongues. So let us move a little further today. We must note these things about these gifts. 1, these gifts are spiritual. That is, meaning that which come from the Spirit. It is through the Spirit. And when it comes to us, it is through our spirit it comes to us. They are manifestations of the Spirit. They were visible and audible evidences of the Spirit influence. That is, when you see them, you know that the Spirit is being manifested in that place. Then we must note that the possession of these spiritual gifts did not ensure spiritual maturity. And that's what we are trying to differentiate between the fruit of the Spirit and the gifts of the Spirit. Somebody can have the gifts of the Spirit and lack in the fruit of Spirit. And therefore you see that the character of that person is not built up. But you see the person doing powerful things. And that is because there is a lack in the gifts, in the indwelling spirit. That's the fruit of the Spirit. And that is what you see in Corinth. They were short of no gift, yet Paul described them as being carnal, as being babes in the word of God. In 1 Corinthians 3, verse 1-4, he described them as that they are carnal. Meanwhile, there were many people that had gifts, great gifts in that place. And again, we must note that sometimes these gifts could be abused when used, because it says in where we read in 1 Corinthians 12, verse 7, it said, but the manifestation of the Spirit is given to each one for the profit of all. The point is,